Proto-Indo-European to Latin language sound changes, also known as sound rules of change. The Latin have changed the words of the Latin language over time from its ancestors, including Proto-Italic and Proto-Indo-European. Phonological changes. Vowels. Proto-Italic inherited all 10 of the early post-Proto-Indo-European simple vowels, i.e. at a time when laryngeals had colored and often lengthened adjacent vowels and then disappeared in many circumstances, i.e. ou, ia, au. It also inherited all of the post-pie diphthongs except for eu, which became ou. Proto-Italic and Old Latin had a stress accent on the first syllable of a word, and this caused steady reduction and eventual deletion of many short vowels in non-initial syllables while affecting initial syllables much less. Long vowels were largely unaffected in general except in final syllables, where they had a tendency to shorten. Monophthongs. Initial syllables. In initial syllables, Latin generally preserves all of the simple vowels of Proto-Italic, see above. Pie ne 3 tos, known to notos to notice. I notice unknown. Welsh nod, customary. Sanskrit nada dash. Greek notos. Pie guy 3 was alive to guz to vivus. Old English quick. English quick. Greek bios life. Sanskrit jiva dash. Slavic 4. Pie h2 egros field. To agros to ager. Gen agri. Greek agros. English acre. Sanskrit adra. Pie capros he goat. To capros to caper he goat. Gen capri. Greek capros boar. Old English heifer he goat. Sanskrit k with acute pt penis. Pie ks. Who. To keys to cause. Greek tis. Avestensis. Sanskrit kiss. Pie kd what. That to cod to quat. Relative. Old English wait. What. Sanskrit cad. Pie metuter mother. To mater. Doric Greek mater. Old Irish mather. Sanskrit mati. Pie metus mouse to moose. Old English moose. Greek muse. Sanskrit mu. Pie nkts night. To nox. Gen noctis. Greek nooks from nox. Sanskrit nact. From nax. Lithuanian noctis. Pie at 8 to octo. Greek oct. Irish oct. Sanskrit a with macron. Pie semi. Half to semi. Greek hemi-dash. Old English sam dash. Sanskrit sami. Pie sway to dus. Pleasing. Tasty to swadis to swadwis. Remade into I stem. To suavis. Doric Greek hatus. English sweet. Sanskrit svadu. Pie swex. 6. Septem. 7 to sex. Septem to sex. Septem. Greek hex. Hepta. Lithuanian sessi. Septini. Sanskrit a with acute. Sapta. Pie yugam yoke to yugam. Greek zugon. Gothic juk. Sanskrit yuga. Short vowel changes in initial syllables. E to I before n, spelled n before a velar, or g before n. Pie degnos to dignus worthy. Pie dnwh2s to denu to Old Latin dingua to lingua, tongue. L, from lingo to lick. Sweet to sodash. Swepnos to swapnos to sopnos to somnus sleep. Sweelis to suidalis to sodalis comrade. We to a dash, later followed by wa to we, except before labial consonants or velarized ll. L pinguis. I and L not followed by I or L. Wello to volo, I want. Versus valim, I would want. Wemo to vomo, I vomit. Westeros to voster to vester, your of you pl. There are numerous examples where pieo appears to result in Latin a instead of expected o, mostly next to labial or labializing consonants. A group of cases showing au to a to v before stress. Au to a to v is known as Thurneson-Havitz's law. Examples include lo 3 to lo to lavo, I wash. Pai otwos to octavus 8th, but octo 8. Other cases remain more disputed, such as lacus lake, in contrast to Irish loch from pai locus, mare sea, in contrast to Irish muir, Welsh moor, Proto-Celtic mori, from pie mori. Devon suggests a general shift o to a in open syllables when preceded by any of b, m, k, w, l. Vine 2011 disputes the cases with mocv, but proposes inversely that mo to ma when followed by or plus a velar k or g. Medial syllables. In non-initial syllables, there was more vowel reduction of short vowels. The most extreme case occurs with short vowels in medial syllables, i.e. short vowels in a syllable that is neither the first nor the last, where all 5 vowels usually merge into a single vowel. 1. They merge into e before r, sometimes original o is unaffected. Enarmus to enormous, unarmed, versus arma arms. Feligioi to Falirii, major town of the Faliscans, versus Faliscus, Faliscan. Foro, carrying, cf. Greek, foros, to, pharaoh dash, e.g. furcifer, gallows bird, kinesies, ash, jan sg. To cinerus versus nomsg, sinus. Comgiso to congero, to collect, versus gero, to do, carry out. Latin Faliscan nemesioi, prenest fibula, to numerio, for numerius. Latin Faliscan p parai, I gave birth to peppery, versus pario, I give birth. Pai Swikuro's father-in-law, to Swikuros to Swokuros to Ciceros to Saucer, gen saucery. 2. They become Old Latin o to you before L pinguis, i.e., an L not followed by I or L. Adolesco to grow up, to adolesco to agilesco, versus allo, I nourish. Ensalto to leap upon to insulto, with lengthening before an S. To insulto, versus salto, I leap. I KLD to beaten, to colso to perculsis, beaten down. Comsolo deliberate to consolo. Obi kilo to conceal, to oculo, versus silo, I hide. Greek psycholos, a Sicilian, to siculos to siculus, versus Sicilia, Sicily. Titolei to techuli, I carried. Formerly L pinguis here because of the original final AI. 3. But they remain O before L pinguis when immediately following a vowel. Latin Faliscan filiolos to filiolus, little son. Similarly, alveolus, trough. 4. Before with the result is always u, in which case the wu is not written. Denode anu to denua. Exlo I wash away to luo. Moniwi I warned to monui. Tristuoem period of 3 days to triduum to triduum. 5. They become I before one consonant other than R or L pinguis. Add tenejo to atinio, to concern, versus tinio, I hold. Caput es, head, gen sg. To capitis, versus nom sg, capit. Latin faliscan cucad I fell to cessidai, versus cato I fall. Comitajo accompany to comito. Comrigo to carigo, to set right, correct, versus rigo, I rule, straighten. Cornucan, trumpeter to cornicin. I mimon h2e, perfect. Thought, pondered to Latin faliscan mimonai to memonai, I remember. Noetats newness to novitas. Greek Sicilia Sicily, to Sicilia, versus Siculus, a Sicilian. Refactio to remake, to refacio to reficio, versus facio, I do, make. 6. But they sometimes become E before one consonant other than R or L pinguis, when immediately following a vowel. Societats fellowship to societas. Variogagizi to make diverse to varigare. But, mediodies midday to myriades, dissimilative rhoticism. To myriades to merides noon, south. But, tibiacan, flute player to tibican, to tibicin. 7. Variation between I and often earlier. U is common before a single labial consonant, P, B, F, M. Underlyingly the sonus medius vowel. From the root cap, grab, catch. Accupo seize, versus occipio begin. From the related noun, caps, catcher. Princeps chief, lit. Caesar of the first, position. Gen principis, versus auceps, bird catcher, gen occupus. Mancapium to mancupium purchase. Later mancipium. Magasimos to maximus, biggest, later maximus. Similarly proximus, nearest. Optimus, best, versus later proximus, optimus. Potassamos to possumus we can, velamos to volumus we want. But legamos to legimus we gather. And all other such verbs. Humus is isolated in summus, possumus and volumus. Suburpuit to surrupuit filches. Later surrepute. Medially before two consonants, when the first is not R or L pinguis, the vowels do not merge to the same degree. 1. Original A, E and you merge into E. Add tentos to attentis, concerned, cf tentis, held, atinio to concern. Subraptos, filched to surreptus, versus raptus, seized. Greek talentum to talentum. Refactos, remade, to refectus, cf factus, made. Condapno to condemno, convict, cf damno, disapprove. 2. But original I is unaffected. Relictos, left, behind, to relictus. 3. And original O raises to you. Ejantes going, gen sg. To untis. Leganter they gather to legunter. Robos to robustus, oaken, cf rober oak, from robos. Syncope. Exon's law, named after Charles Exon, dictates that if there are two light medial syllables in a row, schematically, sigma 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 sigma, where sigma equals syllable and sigma equals light syllable, where light means a short vowel followed by only a single consonant, the first syllable syncopates, i.e. the vowel is deleted. Dexiteros, right, hand. To dexterous, cf Greek dexiteros. Magisimos to maximus, biggest, cf magus, more. Prismocaps to principis, prince, gen sg. Nom, sg. Princeps from prismocaps by analogy. Repeperi to reperi, I found, cf peperi. I gave birth, from peperi. Syncopation tends to occur after R and L in all non-initial syllables, sometimes even in initial syllables. Agros field to agrs to agers to ager to ager. Facultats to facultas. Ferret he carries to fert. Imbris rainstorm to imbers to imber. Tris 3 times to trs to ters to Old Latin ter to ter. Sometimes early syncope causes apparent violations of Exon's law. Cosalinos of hazel to casolnos, not caslinos. To corolnos to corolnos. O to U before L pinguis, see above. To colernus, metathesis. Syncope of I also occurred in ndis, ntis and rtis. NTS then became NS with lengthening of the preceding vowel, while RTS was simplified to RS without lengthening. Frondes leaf to fronts to frons. Gentis tribe to gents to gens. Montis hill to monts to mons. Partis part to parts to pars. Final syllables. In final syllables of polysyllabic words before a final consonant or cluster, short AE I merge into either E or I depending on the following consonant, and short O you merge into U. 1. Short AE I merge into I before a single non-nasal consonant. PIE thematic 2 ND/3 RDSG. ESI. ETI to PIES. ET to is, it, e.g. legis, legit, you gather, he gathers. Proto-Italic reditas. Redidat to redis. Reddit you return, he returns. I stem nom, SG, is to is. 2. Short AE I merge into E before a cluster or a single nasal consonant. Inart is to inners unskilled, CFR's skill. Cornican dash, S, to cornicin trumpeter, CF cano to sing. Malays to miles soldier. Prismocaps to princeps, first, chief, CF capio to take. Septum to septem 7. I stem ACC SG. To 3. Short O you merge into U. Ostem accusative OM to Old Latin OM to Ostem nominative OS to Old Latin OS to us. PIE thematic 3rd SG. Mediopassive eater to iter. PIE thematic 3rd place onti to ONT to unt. Kaput to capit head. I yecker to jecker to iker liver. 4. All short vowels apparently merge into E in absolute final position. 2nd SG. Passive ezo. Azo to air. R. Proto-Italic kenk to quinqua 5. I mori to pi mari to mare C. CF plural Maria. PI stem verbal nouns in Z to infinitives in re. But, you stem neuter nom. U/ACC-SG. U to U, apparently by analogy with Gen SG. Us, dat/ABL-SG. U, it is not known if this change occurred already in Proto-Italic. Long vowels in final syllables shorten before most consonants, but not final S, yielding apparent exceptions to the above rules. A stem ACC-SG. Am to M. Proto-Italic amant to amant, they love. Proto-Italic amat to amat, he, she loves. Cf passive amateur. PIE thematic first SG. Medial passive or to or. Sweeser to sor, sister. Cf gen sororis. Absolutely final long vowels are apparently maintained with the exception of a, which is shortened in the first declension nominative singular and the neuter plural ending, both from PIE et tu, but maintained in the first conjugation second SG. Imperative, from PIE et tu ye. Diphthongs. Initial syllables. Proto-Italic maintained all PIE diphthongs except for the change EU to OU. The Proto-Italic diphthongs tend to remain into Old Latin but generally reduced to pure long vowels by Classical Latin. 1. PIE-EI to Old Latin EI to E, a vowel higher than a from PIE-A. This then developed to I normally but to a before V. PIE bade. Be persuaded. Be confident to fee to fido to trust. PIE deek. Point, out. To Old Latin dico to say. PIE diwos, God, deity, to very Old Latin dios, duenos inscription. To divas to deus, cf divus, divine, godlike, godly. But nominative plural divoy to dvi to dve to dv to di. Vocative singular div to dve to dive. 2. PIE h2ei to ai to ae. PIE kh2eiko to keiko, to sikis, blind. Cf Old Irish cake kai blind. Gothic haze one-eyed, Sanskrit kekara, squinting. 3. PIE oi to Old Latin oi oe to you, occasionally preserved as oe. PIE choinos to Old Latin oinos to enos to unis 1. Greek phoenix to punicus, Phoenician. But PIE boyd to foio, to foetus treaty. Cf Fido above. 4. PIE EU, OU to Proto-Italic OU to Old Latin OU to O higher than aw from PIE aw to U. PIE duk, to duki, to Old Latin duco to duco lead. PIE lucasne 2 to luxna to Old Latin losna, i.e. lo sna, to luna moon. Cf Old Prussian loxnose, stars, Avestan rayon lantern. PIE h, yug, join to yugasementu, to Old Latin I auxmentum pack horse to iumentum. 5. PIE h2 EU2, O to O. PIE h2 EUG, to augij/O to augio, to increase. Cf Greek oxo, Gothic aukin, Lithuanian ogdi. Medial syllables. All diphthongs in medial syllables become I or U. 1. Post, PIEEI to I, just as in initial syllables. Indico to indico, to point out. Cf dico to say. 2. Post PIEAI to Old Latin EI to I. Encato, cut into, to incido, cf keto cut. Cookidai I cut. Perf. To cessidai, cf keto I cut. President. Early Greek, or from an earlier source, elewa olive to oliva. 3. Post, PIE oi to you, just as in initial syllables. PIE endpointy with impunity, to impugn. Cf pina, punishment. 4. Post, PIE EU, OU to Proto-Italic OU to you, just as in initial syllables. Enduco to induco, to draw over, cover, cf duco, to lead. 5. Post PIEO to you rarely OE. At causo accuse, to accuso, cf causa cause. Enclaudo enclose, to includo, cf claudo close. OBAUDIO obey, to obedio, cf audio here. Final syllables. Mostly like medial syllables. EI to I, PIE metu trei to mother to matri. AI to I in multisyllabic words. Latin feliscan pepperi, I brought forth to peppery. EU/OU, to you. Post PIE menos hand, gen SG, to manus. Different from medial syllables. AI to AE in monosyllables. PIE PRH2EI, before to pray, cf Greek parai. Oi to Old Latin EI to I, not you PIE O stem plural oi to I, cf Greek oi. Oi to I also in monosyllables. PIE koi, hu to ka. Syllabic resonance and laryngeals. The PIE syllabic resonance M, N, R, L generally become M, N, or OL, cf Greek M/A, and /A, AR/RA, al/la. Germanic un, ur, ul. Sanskrit M/A, and /A, R, R. Lithuanian im, in, ir, il. PIE decum, t, 10 to decim, cf Irish dike, Greek deca, Gothic tihun tehun. PIE, d km tom, 100 to centum, cf Welsh cant, Gothic hund, Lithuanian simtes, Sanskrit sudum. PIEN, not to ol into in, cf Greek a-/and dash. English un-dash, Sanskrit a-un. PIETNTOS, stretched to tentis. Cf Greek tatos, Sanskrit tata. PIEKRD, heart to cord to soar. Cf Greek kur. English heart, Lithuanian certes. Sanskrit HD. PIEML dus soft, to moldus to moldwis, remade as I stem. To molwis tamales, cf Irish meldak. Pleasing, English mild, Czech mlady. The laryngeals H, H2, H3 appear in Latin as a when between consonants, as in most languages but Greek E/A/O respectively, Sanskrit I. PIE DHTOS, put to L factus, with cov disputed etymology. Cf Greek thetos, Sanskrit hita, from dita. PIE page 2tr father, to L pater. Cf Greek patcher, Sanskrit pit, English father. PIE DH3TOS, given to L datus. Cf Greek dodos, Sanskrit dita. A sequence of syllabic resonant plus laryngeal, when before a consonant, produced ma, na, ra, la is also in Celtic, cf. Greek na/no, ra/ra/ro, etc. depending on the laryngeal. Germanic ur, ul. Sanskrit ir/ur, ir/ur. Lithuanian in, ir, il. Piegnh born, to natus, son, natus, born, participle. Cf. Middle Welsh not, relative. Greek dionidos, Zeus offspring. Sanskrit jada dash, English kind, kin. Piegrh nam grain to granum. Cf. Old Irish gran. English corn, Lithuanian zernus, jra with acute, old, worn out. Pieh2wlh to wool, to lana. Cf. Welsh glan. Gothic wula. Greek linos, Lithuanian vilna. Sanskrit ura. Consonants, aspirates. The Indo-European voiced aspirates b, d, g, g, which were probably breathy voice stops, first devoiced in initial position, fricatives, then fricatized in all positions, producing pairs of voiceless/voiced fricatives in Proto-Italic. F, beta, theta, chi, respectively. The fricatives were voiceless in the initial position. However, between vowels and other voice sounds there are indications, in particular their evolution in Latin, that the sounds were actually voiced. Likewise, Proto-Italics apparently had a voiced allophone z in the same position. In all Italic languages, the word initial voiceless fricatives f, theta, and chi all merged to f, whereas chi debuccalized to h except before a liquid where it became g. Thus, in Latin, the normal outcome of initial pieb, d, g is f, h, f, respectively. Examples: piebre, carry to pharaoh, cf. Old Irish bayrid, bears. English bear, Sanskrit bardi. Piebrh tutor brother, to bra with macronter to frater, cf. Old Irish brat hair. Sanskrit bratar dash, Greek frater member of a phratry. Pie day, put, place to dhk, to aki to facio do. Make, cf. Welsh dodi, English do, Greek tithemi, I put, Sanskrit hadi he puts. Piedwr door, to were, to fora to fours, pl, doors. Cf. Welsh door, Greek thura, Sanskrit dvare, pl. Pie gab, seize, take, to kaye beta e to habio have. Cf. Old Irish gabid, takes. Old English giffen to give, Polish gabak, to seize. Pie ados goat, to ados to hedus, kid. Cf. Old English gak goat, Polish sajak, hare, Sanskrit hayas, horse. Pieh to ans goose to ans to h, answer. Cf. Old Irish guy swan. German gans, Greek kachin, Sanskrit has. Pieglh to deros, shining, smooth. Teleros to glaber smooth. Cf. Polish gladki, smooth. Old English glade, bright, glad. Pie gendi, to strike, kill, to kai, en, to fendo, cf. Welsh guanu, to stab. Old High German gundo battle, Sanskrit hanti, he, strikes, kills. Na killer, used in compounds. Pie germ, warm to ormo, to formus. Cf. Old Prussian gorm, heat. Greek thermos, Sanskrit garma, heat. Word internal, b dash, d dash, g dash. G evolved into Proto-Italic beta. In Osco-Umbrian, the same type of merger occurred as that affecting voiceless fricatives, with beta, and merging to beta. In Latin, this did not happen, and instead the fricatives defricatized, giving b, db, gh, gv gu. B is the simplest case, consistently becoming b. Piebrus beaver to pharaoh to Old Latin fiber to fiber. D usually becomes d, but becomes b next to r or u, or before l. Pie bade, be persuaded to feed a fido I trust. Cf. Old English biden, to wait, Greek pytho, I trust. Pie medio, middle to meo to medius, cf. Old Irish mide. Gothic midges, Sanskrit mudya. Pie cray, h, drum, sieve, sifter, to crybrum, sieve. Cf. Old English writer sieve. Pieh rudaro, red to ruro, to ruber, cf. Old Russian rodru. Greek eruthros, Sanskrit ruthira. Pie sth tudlam to stalum to stabulum, abode. Cf. German stadel. Pie where dho, word to wero, to verbum. Cf. English word, Lithuanian vardas. The development of g is twofold. G becomes h between vowels but g elsewhere. Pie we, carry to we/o to viho, cf. Greek okiamai, I ride. Old English wagon, to carry, Sanskrit vahadi, he, drives. Pie dian, shapes, forms to ini/o to fingo, cf. Old Irish, dingerex, builds, Gothic degan to mold, shape. G has three outcomes, becoming gu after n, v between vowels, and g next to other consonants. All three variants are visible in the same root snig, snow, cf. Irish snigid, snows. Greek nifa. Pie snagi/o to snini/o with n infix. To ningwit it snows. Pie snigos to sneos to gen sg. Nivis of snow. Pie sniges to snis to nom. Sg. Nix. ie/nig s/. Snow. Other examples. Pie hlu, engu to hlegu. To lias to lays. Remade as I stem. To levis lightweight. Cf. Welsh law small, low. Greek elicus, small. Sanskrit lagodash. Ragu, quick, light, small. Labiovelars. G has results much like non-initial g dash, becoming vu in most circumstances, but gu after a nasal and g next to other consonants. Pie guy 3 was to woes to vivus alive. Cf. Old Irish bayu, bio, Lithuanian jivas, Sanskrit jiva, alive. Pie gmie/o, come, to nje/o to vino. Cf. English come, Greek bino, I go, Avestan jamaidi, he goes, Sanskrit gam, go. Pie grh to us, heavy, to ras to gravis. Cf. Greek barus, Gothic kauris, Sanskrit guru, pieh3ang, to onen to unguin salve. Cf. Old Irish in butter, Old High German ancho butter, Sanskrit angina, anointing, ointment. Piengn, swollen, gland to enin to inguin bubo, groin. Cf. Greek adn gen adnos, gland, Old High German anquise, pustules. K remains as chu before a vowel, but reduces to seek before a consonant or next to a u. Pie ketras, neutral keter, for to quatuor. Cf. Old Irish sether, Lithuanian katuri, Sanskrit katvar. Pie leak, President Lien ek. Leave behind to link e/o. Licky, to linquo leaves. Licio is allowed, is for sale. Cf. Greek lipo, limpano, Sanskrit ricti, Gothic laven to lend. Ie nox night to nox, gen sg. Noctis. Pie sec, to follow to secor. Cf. Old Irish sechem, Greek hepamai, Sanskrit secate. The sequence pk assimilates to kk, an innovation shared with Celtic. Pie pek, I cook, to kek to kokwo. Cf. kokina, kosina, kitchen versus papina tavern from Oskin. Where k to p, Polish peak, I bake, Sanskrit pakati cooks. Pie ki 5 to quinqua. Cf. Old Irish coic, Greek pente, Sanskrit panka. Pie perkas, oak to corcus. Cf. Trentino porca, fur. Punjabi pargai, home oak, Gothic fairvis world, fairgun, mountain. The sequences kw, gw, w develop identically to k, g, g, i.e. dnwh2 tongue, to dnwa with macron to den to Old Latin dingua to lingua. Pie equos horse to ecos to Old Latin equos to ecus to equus. Assimilated from other forms, e.g. gen sg, equi. Cf. Sanskrit asva dash, which indicates kw, not k. Pie waro, wild animal to ero, to ferris. Cf. Greek thr, lesbian phr, Lithuanians veris. Pie marius short to mru to mre, remade as I stem, to brevis. Cf. Old English merge, briefly. English Mary, Greek brachus. Avestan marizu dash, Sanskrit muhu, suddenly. S. rhoticism. Indo-European S between vowels was first voiced to Z in late Proto-Italic and became R in Latin and Umbrian. A change known as rhoticism. Early Old Latin documents still have S as Z, and Cicero once remarked that a certain Papirius Crassus officially changed his name from Papisius in 339 BC, indicating the approximate time of this change. This produces many alternations in Latin declension. Est, he is, future erit he will be, floss flower, gen floris, moose mouse, pl mures. Other examples, Proto-Italic A, JOS, AJ, ism to AES, ism to AES, aram bronze. But PIAJ, ESENOS to ESNOS to ENUS, bronze, ADJ. Proto-Italic ossos, ossosem to ozzos, ozzosem to aurora dawn, change of suffix. Cf. English East, Eolic Greek AOs, Sanskrit oi with macrons. Proto-Italic sweeser to swozer to sore sister. Cf. Old English sweastor, Sanskrit svaser. However, before another R, dissimilation occurred with SRZR becoming BR likely via an intermediate R. Proto-Italic charisram to charisram, cararam to cerebrum, skull, brain. Cf. Greek charis, horn. Proto-Italic sweserinos to swesrinos, swernos to sobrinus, maternal cousin. Elision. In groups of stop plus before unvoiced consonants, the stop was lost. Proto-Italic substenio to Latin sustenio hold up. Syncopated words like dexter, from dexiteros, were not affected by this change. Additionally, words beginning with recognizable prepositions like x or ob frequently restored the stop. This was lost before voiced consonants, with compensatory lengthening. Proto-Italic isdem to Latin idem, same. Clusters involving s were also lost before voiced consonants, also with compensatory lengthening. Proto-Italic exdauco to esdauco to Latin educo draw out. Assimilation. Sequences of DL, LD, NL, LN, RL, LS, and LW became LL. Proto-Italic sedla to Latin cella seat. Proto-Italic saldo to Latin sallow salt. Proto-Italic coronilla to coronla to Latin corolla, wreath. Diminutive of corona, crown. Proto-Italic colnies to Latin collis, hill. Proto-Italic agrilos to agurlos to Latin agellis, little field. Diminutive of ager field. Proto-Italic wlesi to welsi to Latin vel, to want. Proto-Italic moldwi to molwi to Latin mollies. As shown by agellis, this assimilation occurred after syncopation. Original sequences of rs, idadi not derived from other sources or from syncopation, became rr. Proto-Italic pharisee to fursi to Latin foray, to carry. Sequences of nr become rr. Proto-Italic enrigo to Latin irigo, direct water to a place. Sequences of labial stops and nasals become mm and mn respectively. Proto-Italic submos to Latin summus, highest, top. Proto-Italic swepnos to Latin somnus, sleep. Others became g before and possibly later becoming eng. Word initially this g, no matter its source, was also often later dropped. I.e. decnos to dignus, worthy. Early Latin nasco, to understand. Finald was lost after long vowels beginning in the late 3rd century BCE. Pie masculine ablative singular ad to od to imhd me to med to ma. Initial dw, attested in Old Latin as do, becomes b dash, thus compensating for the dearth of words beginning with b in pie. Pie duel, injure to duellum war to bellum. A variant duellum survived in poetry as a trisyllabic word, whence English duel. Pie dwis twice to dys to bis, cf. Greek dis, Sanskrit vis, and underwent dissimilation to or when followed by m. Pie genomen, offspring, seed to Latin German seed. Pie kh2nmn, from the root keh2n, to sing, to Latin Carmen song. Here we have the development of proto-italic vowels in Latin. And here are the developments of some Proto-Indo-European sounds in other languages.